Hello friends, Pastor Chester Hitchcock here with the Old Testament Gospel Memory Course. Today we are doing the book of Numbers. Now if you've been with me so far, you know how this is working. We're putting the information over here in our minds and we are painting pictures. I'm using ancient Greek memory techniques. And if this is your first time to the Gospel Memory Course, stick with me because I'm going to show you how we do it. You see, the ancient Greeks used to tie things into their memory by putting them in picture form, because our mind remembers things in pictures. That's why the old MS-DOS computers are a thing of the past and everyone uses Windows. So we create these pictures in our minds and we locate them in an imaginary place. Now the Greek orators, when they would give their speeches, they would in their minds walk through their house and they would have things attached in picture form, very vivid pictures with action, so that they could remember their speech without any notes. That's the way we're doing it. So if you've been with me so far, we have put Genesis, Exodus, and Leviticus all in an imaginary filing cabinet. There are 5 drawers to this filing cabinet, because the first 5 books of the Old Testament were written by Moses. They're called the Torah, or the Pentateuch, which means 5. So we imagine that there is a filing cabinet, and we have placed the book of Genesis in the top drawer so that we can keep the information for each book separated in the same way that we would in a filing cabinet. We open the first drawer, the top drawer, and we see a generator in there that tells us that this is the book of Genesis. We put the next book, Exodus, in the second drawer, and we have an exit sign here that tells us that this is the book of Exodus, and we put the information for Exodus in that drawer. And then we placed the information for the book of Leviticus in the third drawer, and as we open that drawer, things levitate out of the book of Leviticus. Now we're going to put the book of Numbers in the fourth drawer, and how we're going to remember this information about Numbers is we're going to imagine that on this drawer there is a keypad of numbers. And you have to have the combination, the correct combination, to be able to open the drawer of Numbers. And then everything in the book of Numbers that we take out of here to remember is going to have a calculator attached to it in some way to help us remember that we're in the book of Numbers. Because sometime in the future, when you're trying to remember a story and you're going to say, oh, I remember it's in the filing cabinet, but I don't remember which drawer it's in. Well, did it levitate out of the book of Leviticus? Or did it have number pads or calculators associated with it? So we're going to have these number pads and calculators associated with everything that comes out of the book of Numbers. I'm giving you the picture for each number because every number has a picture. So I'm going to give you the pictures only for the numbers that we are using in this lesson. We need to remember something in chapters 1 through 4 of the book of Numbers. And the number 1 is always a tree because the number 1 looks like the trunk of a tree. And the number 4 is always a car because a car has 4 wheels, 4-wheel drive, 4 speed, 4 on the floor, 4 doors, 4 windows, so on and so forth. So number 4 will be a car, and we will have a picture of a tree and a car to relate these things together. The next chapter that we will want to remember something in will be the chapter 11, and an 11 looks like a goalpost, so goalpost or anything related to football is going to be number 11, and there are 11 players on a team. The other number that we're going to want to remember here in the book of Numbers is the number 13. Now the picture for 13 is a witch. Think of Unlucky 13 or Friday the 13th. So get a good picture of a witch in your mind, because 13 is always a witch. Then the next chapter that we're going to want to remember something in is 20. And 20 is cigarettes. Now, if you're not a smoker, you might not know that, but smokers will tell you that there are 20 cigarettes in a package. So someone smokes a pack of cigarettes a day, you know how many cigarettes they smoke. 20 is cigarettes, and we're going to use that actually in our story here today. And then the next and final chapter that we're going to want to attach a point of memory to is going to be the number 22. Now in your mind for number 22, you want to imagine a .22 rifle. Now, a .22 caliber rifle is a very small caliber rifle, but we're going to use that in our story. So now we're going to use our keypad to finger in the correct combination to open the drawer for the book of Numbers. And as we open that, a tree grows out of the filing cabinet, and it is growing calculators. Now we remember, we want to remember chapters 1 through 4, because in chapters 1 through 4 is all about census. They were taking a census. So all 4 chapters is about the census. So you're going to want to use the number for 1, which is tree, and you're going to want to use the number 4 for car. And so this tree that grows calculators doesn't make any sense, unless of course there's a census. So I want you to grab that tree of calculators, take it out and put it in your car so that you can go out and help with the census. Chapters 1 through 4 is the census. Now, after you've finished at the car, I want you to come back in and open the drawer once again. And this time, a covey of quail fly out. Do you know what a covey of quail is? What someone might say a flock of quail, because they're birds. But it's called a covey of quail. And if you're ever walking through a field and a covey of quail take off, they go in all different directions. And a covey of quail fly up out of this drawer, and each one of them is carrying a calculator in its beak, and they all fly up onto a goalpost, and they're sitting on the goalpost with calculators in their mouth. Why? Because here is where you will find the story in the book of Numbers where God sends quail for the people to eat. And how do you remember that? If you want to find that story, you're going to think, oh, that's right, I saw quail fly out of this drawer with calculators in their mouth. So therefore, it is in the book of Numbers, and they landed on a goalpost, and the goalpost is number 11. So it's in the book of Numbers, chapter 11. That's what your mind will remember. So get a really good picture of these quail flying out with number pads or calculators in their mouth, flying over and landing on a goalpost. Now, the next thing that you want to remember is chapter 13. And in chapter 13 is where you find the 12 spies that went to spy in Canaan. So this time, when you look down at the drawer, you hear something, and a witch comes crawling up out of the drawer. And so which is the number 13. So the 12 spies that went to spy in Canaan are found in Numbers chapter 13, and the witch has a calculator in her hand, because the witch has been spying on you. She's been calculating all of the things that you're doing, and she's spying on you. Have you heard the song that the kids like to sing? 12 spies went to spy in Canaan. Here's how it goes. 12 spies went to spy in Canaan, 10 were bad, 2 were good. What did they seek to spy in Canaan? 10 were bad, 2 were good. Some saw giants tough and tall, some saw grapes and clusters fall, some saw God was in it all. 10 were bad, 2 were good. Hey, practice that song. You'll enjoy doing that song. I enjoy doing it with the kids. And when I do it with the kids, I do it over and over again, each time faster and faster, so the kids are, 12 spies went to spy in Canaan, 10 were bad, 2 were good. What to seek to spy in Canaan? 10 were bad, 2 were good. Some saw giants tough and tall, some saw grapes and clusters fall, some saw God was in it all. 10 were bad, 2 were good. The kids love doing those kinds of things. Where are those 12 spies? Those 12 spies were dressed like witches, because chapter 13. And she has a calculator in her hand, which is calculating because she's been spying on you. And that's how you remember it's in the book of Numbers, and she's a witch spying on you. The next number that we are going to need to remember is the number 20. The story that is in the book of Numbers in chapter 20 is about Moses getting water out of a rock. Of course, Moses could not get the water out of a rock by himself. It was God who got the water out of the rock. But here in this filing cabinet, down here in this drawer, are some rocks. And the number 20 is cigarettes. Now, these are special rocks that you keep in this filing cabinet if you have a problem with smoking. or if you know someone who has a problem with smoking, imagine that these rocks are special rocks to help you stop smoking. Now here's how it works. I want you to take a rock in your hand every time that you feel like you really want a cigarette, or if you have a friend who smokes, have them to do this. Take the rock in your hand and squeeze it, squeeze it, squeeze it like you're trying to get water out of a rock. Don't worry about it. You're not going to get any water out of the rock, because the only one that can get water out of a rock is God. Moses couldn't do it. But as you squeeze on this and think about trying to get water out of a rock, and there are a number of these rocks, a number of them. In fact, there might be a rock for every day of the week. So whichever day of the week it is, I want you to get that number out and squeeze that rock to try to get the water out. Because in Numbers chapter 20, which is cigarettes, is where Moses gets water out of a rock. Now the next number that you want to remember is the number 22. Now, like I said, there are 36 chapters in the book of Numbers, and we're going to stop with this one, but it's a very interesting story. This is the story of Balaam, the donkey, and the angel, and if you haven't read this story, you really owe it to yourself. But imagine that there is now a donkey that's climbing up out of this drawer of this filing cabinet, and he also has a calculator in his mouth. And you say, what are you doing in there? And the donkey talks back to you. Now, it might even be Eeyore if you want to have a picture of a donkey. But the donkey talks back to you and says that he's just calculating. Why? Because in Numbers chapter 22 is where the donkey actually talks to Balaam. Now, how are we going to remember that it's chapter 22? Well, Balaam was so angry at his donkey that when the donkey spoke to him, Balaam talked back and told his donkey, if I had my sword, I would kill you. Now imagine a more contemporary version. Balaam might have said, if I had my 22, I would kill you. Okay? Next time, we are going to do Deuteronomy. How are we going to do that? You're going to have to wait and see. So I hope that you will click subscribe, ring the bell so that you'll get a notification. If this video has been helpful, give me a thumbs up. God bless and happy memory.